Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Football Brisbane, or as it's now called, FQ Metro edition of the Village Law SEQFC preview show. My name's Darren. You know that already. What you don't know is the guest that I have this evening, and for the first time ever, we've got every league covered this week, so it's going to be a crack of a show. Spencer Lawson, we're going to have a good time with this bunch.
Yeah, we should do. There's a few questions that I got for several guests, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So let's just announce them as we talk about each competition. So first up, we have got George Sukker, and George is the coach at Western Spirit. G'day, George.
How you going?
Good. Now, mate, you took over the role about for the previous 5 games, which means about 3 months now or something,
Yeah,
right?
feels like that, doesn't it?
Tell us how that all came about.
So I left coaching probably about 6 years ago. My last gig was at Roachdale, and I started coaching futsal for AFA, for Alistair Miller. And obviously, you know, Alistair Miller is also the president of Western Spirit, and some internal dramas happened. Don't really care. I don't even know. And he's asked me to come in and help out. So as well as coaching futsal 2 nights a week, he's asked me to help out with Western Spirit and coach them 2 nights a week as well. So yeah, full plate.
And things are going all right for you since you've taken
Oh, really good. Yeah.
So take us through it. What did you see? What did you change? What's brought about
when the coach did leave, a few of the players left as well. So the first thing we had to do is start building up the player roster. So we did that. Like, I know a few boys that play for me. I know a few guys that play outdoor that are good players that aren't playing. I've asked them all, and, you know, lo and behold, everyone agreed. Come on board with me. It's easy to coach a team. You just need the players. And that's what we did. We got the players. And Western Spirit still had the original players as well.
How many did you bring in, George?
I think about 12.
You brought in 12 players?
Yeah.
Wow. So you basically transformed the squad.
Well, you know, there's probably about 6 of them in the first team, 6 of them in the Rezzies. You know, all we needed to do was bolster both teams to make them competitive. And right. I think that's what we've done. I mean, we haven't lost a game in the last 5 weeks, so it's positive.
Yeah. All right. So you're currently in 10th place on 15 points. So given the number of results, that's pretty much they didn't have too many points before you took over, did they?
No. So they've been sitting second last for a while, I think. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I've been doing futsal, so I haven't really followed. I still watch, you know, highlights on Facebook and stuff like that. But, yeah, I haven't really been following it. And then, yeah, they've done well. What is it? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 points in 5 games, which isn't too bad.
What happened to you guys on the weekend? Did you play a game?
Yeah, so I wasn't there. It was my 22nd wedding anniversary, so I spent that time with my wife, doing the right thing. Yeah, so the boys, I heard the reserves first game against, I think it was Centenary, went down 8-1. This week they went down 1-0. But again, we had to borrow players from the 18s because a lot of them weren't available. And the first team snuck in with a 2-2 draw.
That's incredible, George, that you'd put a wedding anniversary ahead of the top team. There's not many coaches out there that do that.
That's why I'm still married. It's 22 years.
Spencer, what's your take on that, mate? That's rare, right?
Yeah, I think when trying to drag them out of relegation, it is, but it is what it is. I'm sure it can go one of either. It can go one of 2 ways, can't it? Happy wife, happy life. So I'm sure if he decided to coach, he would have come home to all this stuff on the porch probably. So.
Now
I'll be honest with you. Also, guys, they've got a really good coaching staff there as well. So I can't just come into a club and just start taking over. I've helped out. I've started organising stuff, but I've also done that with the aid of Nevo Sullivan. I'm pretty sure you guys know who Nevo Sullivan is. So he was coaching the Rezzies prior to all this happening. So he put his hand up to take the first team. I've come on board and help him with that. I'm also taking the Rezzies. So, you know, if I'm not there, Nev's going to take over. If Nev's not there, then I do it. But we've got good coaching support and staff at Western Spirit as well.
Excellent. Now, you've got a tough assignment this weekend. I assume you're going to show up for the match, home match against Albany Creek?
Yes, I'll be there. So the week before I came on board, it was a 13-0 drumming.
Right.
And I don't think we had a team to field for the Rezzies either. And that's why we only had enough bare minimum for the first team.
So
and
what
a
are
red card on top of that.
So what are your expectations this weekend?
It's not going to be 13-0. No, look, I think going by our results, look, we went to North Lakes and no one expected us to beat them 5-1. You know, Merkovac came home. No one expected us to beat them 3-0. We're up 3-0 against Brisbane. Who are they? Croatia.
The
Brisbane Knights.
Brisbane Knights, yeah.
We were up 3-0 against Brisbane Knights. We got a red card in the second half. We drew 4-4. I mean, no one expected these results. So Albany Creek won't be coming to Western Spirit expecting to win 13-0. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a tough game for them. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the result will be. I'm quietly confident.
Spencer, Albany Creek had a tough match last weekend as well.
Yeah, I'm just actually pulling that one up now, getting all the games lined up. Who did they play?
I'm pretty sure it was wasn't Bayside.
No, it was where is it?
Anyone else, feel free to jump in.
I know they did play a tight game.
Was
I
it
think it was a
Toowong?
4-2. I think they won 4-2.
No, it wasn't Toowong. Toowong played here it is. It was where is it?
Stormers.
No, that Centenary.
Yes.
Yeah, so we spoke to the coach out there a few weeks ago, and he was turning things around out there. So I think similar situation to what Spirit have done, turn their season around. It just so happens that I think those two and a few others are all the ones battling out to avoid that second last spot. But what that second last spot means moving forward, who knows at this stage? But obviously, everyone wants to finish the season strong. So yeah, look, it's a Spirit have come along. I had a bit of a chat to Mitchell Spencer when it all went down after the which is one of the players, I think reserve players out there after the 13-0 game, and he said that that they had new players coming in and they were going to turn it around. But it was also a good and I think I mentioned on a few shows back as well. That it was a good exposure for the young kids that actually played that game as well. A lot of the 18s, they got a good youth system coming up there at Spirit. So, yeah, a lot of those young players actually got a good exposure. Obviously, an eye-opening experience for them, but just to show them what level or what level they need to be at to compete regularly against these sides like Albany Creek.
What do you make of that, George?
Look, I think our 18s team are fantastic. We've used a few of those players, and I would love to next year grab the entire 18s team and make them the Rezzies. I mean, the whole idea of playing football is about development. I coach a futsal team, and I got them when they were 17 years old in a men's competition. It took us 4 years to actually get our feet, but now I've got the youth coming through, and I only select from the youth for the men's team. I don't look outside. That's what I'd like to do at Spirit. I'd like to take the 18s team, put them into the Rezzies, and just start bleeding them early. Because I was playing first team football at 16. I got 1 minute, and I was like that. So, you know, that's what we should be bringing back. We should start blooding the youth that actually put the time in every club.
All right, looking at other fixtures this weekend, we've got St. George taking on Brisbane Knights. St. George have got an announcement coming up very soon about a new coach, but we'll let the club make that announcement. Western Spirit, Albany Creek, as we've mentioned. UQFC against Acacia Ridge. The Gap taking on the Lakes. And Toowong will be hosting Bayside United. Quick look at the ladder here, and it's very hard to get a reading. We've got Western Spirit. You've only played 15 games there, George, and most other teams have played 18. A few of them are playing 17. a couple of wins, you can finish this season very strongly, and you could be just outside the top 4.
Well, the whole idea was to get out of the relegation zone, and that's our focus. And look, in results talk, and the boys are showing that. They seem to come together really well, and I'm hoping that by the end of it, we could be in the top. We're planning in the top 6.
Spencer, Bayside United have moved into second place on the ladder. You did mention a few weeks ago, and I'll give you credit for this, that the Lakes were showing signs of weakness, and that's come to fruition. Spencer.
Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, look, I did, but it looks like they recovered from the break pretty well. The break seems to be done wonders for them. They came back and had a solid, I think it was 4-1 win against Toowong over the weekend. So I could be wrong. I think all the fixtures mixed up has kind of thrown that off a little bit. But I know that there was the most recent, but it looks like they did get a solid result on the weekend against a decent Toowong side. So whether or not they push on with that, but yeah, I did call that they didn't really have a squad besides Josh Fern and a few others to carry them throughout the whole season. But yeah, look, we'll see how they go. It's that top 4 fight there. Second, third, and fourth fight is an intriguing one. Good
stuff. All right, George, stick around. Let's talk Brisbane Women's Premier League now, or SEQ Metro Women's. I don't know what it's called now. We've got Jack Sullivan from UQFC. G'day, Jack.
Hey, Darren, how are you?
All right. How'd you go with the break, mate? You've got a young side. They would have just been keeping fit, no problems, right?
Yeah, we've handled it pretty well. Obviously, we've had put out some programs and stuff for the players to complete in the break, and they sort of powered through that and have come back probably slightly fitter than they were before the break, which has been great from the coaching perspective.
Very good. What happened on the weekend, mate? Did you play a game?
Yeah, so we had the tough trip down to Broadbeach away and ended up going down 3-1. The scoreline probably didn't fully reflect the match. But yeah, look, obviously Broadbeach are the standard in the league, and that showed at the end of the 90 minutes. We had a 10-minute period where we, dropped 5-10%, and they took advantage of that. Yeah, we're working hard. We got Rabina on the weekend, and that's obviously a big, important match for both teams for the top 4. So got a couple of key players back, so looking forward to it. Also back down the coast again.
Yeah, so Rabina have got their eye on second place if Karina managed to struggle. Karina had a 7-0 win over the Lakes. Rabina had a 2-1 win over Grange Thistle. You've mentioned your result, and KPR had a 1-0 win over Annalee. So let's have a look at this weekend's fixtures. Which round am I looking at here, Jack? There we go.
So I believe it's round 17.
Yes, there we go. So Rabina UQ, the Lakes up against Broadbeach, Grange Thistle taking on Kangaroo Point Rovers, and Karina host Annalee. I would suggest that your match, that's the game of the weekend, isn't it? Very clearly. Although I'm going to make a call here, Annalee to get an upset over Karina. Just going to call it.
That'd be great for us and our top 4 hopes. If Annalee and Grange can get up against the other top 4 rivals, that would just be just brilliant for us. Yeah, look, there's some big matches in there. Obviously, our one's a 3rd versus 4th, and the head-to-heads at this late stage of the season will probably decide that top 4. Looking at it between us, Rabina, and KPR, potentially Annalee as an outside shout. But yeah, those head-to-heads are going to be fairly important for those teams and who can come out on top.
Definitely. Players coming back fitter after the break. You are the envy of so many coaches across this league right now.
We were shocked ourselves running the fitness test on the first session back. They all nailed it.
Very good. All right, Jack, thank you very much for your time. Now we do.
Before we move on to Cat 1, no, I just want to. It was actually the Lakes played against Albany Creek and got a 2-2 draw on the weekend. So I just want to confirm that. So that's actually a solid result for the Lakes.
Oh, that's in the Men's Premier League, yeah?
Yes.
Right. Very good. All right. Now,
Let's
Josh,
go.
are you with us?
Yeah, you got me, Darren.
G'day, mates. Your side just manages to keep clinging to that top position, but you've got a challenger now, Pine Hills, making their run.
Yeah, I think Pine Hills were always going to be a strong squad. Everyone sort of knew that from the get-go. I think we're 3 ahead of them with the game in hand.
That's correct. Who's your game in hand against?
Oh, after this whole COVID break, I've got no idea. I've got no idea how that plays out.
It's like that, isn't it? It's just I'm looking through the fixture lists. There's results here, there, and everywhere. The numbers they're all out of whack. Very difficult to keep up.
Yeah, it's confusing. And for us with the COVID break, we looked at either playing Ipswich City, which was our next game after we played Metro during the week, or playing Pine Hills. So complete opposite ends of the tables was who our next game was going to be against after the COVID break.
All right. So I just missed that. Who have you got this weekend?
This weekend we got Ipswich City, which would have been
Ipswich City.
who we were meant to play after, because we played the midweek game last time you guys were on your show against Logan Metro. It was meant to be Ipswich City, then COVID, and we ended up playing Pine Hills the first time back.
Okay. So you had a 3-0 loss against Newmarket. Against Pine Hills.
Yep.
Is something that you can just write off, or were there some issues there that you found with your team?
No, not really. I think we went to Metro going back before COVID on a Wednesday night away from home. We went down 1-0 with a player sent off in the first half, and we won 2-1. And we were on such a high, like such a confidence boost. We were rolling really well. Then we had the 6 weeks off, or the 5 weeks, or whatever it was. Where we, not a lot could happen. First week of training, we had guys that couldn't train. We had guys that could train once a week, like most clubs did. On the game, you could probably tell that both teams hadn't trained for a month. It just in regards to just speed of the game and fitness, but it was a really good game. I don't think 3-0 justifies. 2 penalties in the game to Pine Hills. How do you sort of justify, defend anything against that? Besides that, though, still we're improving each week. Like to go out there from even the first round when we played them, the way we competed and the way the possession we had throughout the game, we definitely struggled in the final third to break them down and create chances. But, it was 2-0. 2-0 into the second half. We were sort of definitely in more possession and I'm sort of on the upper. We have a chance off the knee, off a corner, go wide, and then sort of 5 minutes later they get a penalty again. And that's sort of a 3-0 down, 2 penalties against you. It's a bit deflating at that stage. But
yeah,
man, it was a great game. I think it was a great game of both teams. At the end of the day, they scored 3 goals, we scored none. So can't do too much about that.
I think the big result from the weekend was North Pine getting a late winner against Slacks Creek to keep themselves in the top 3. North Pine have the bye this weekend, and Pine Hills up against Ripley Valley, who lost again last weekend. Looking at
Ripley,
the
they drew 2-2 with Metro. Ripley missed a penalty in the 90th minute. Yeah, missed the 90th penalty in the 90th minute. Yeah.
All right, so Metro taking on New Farm this weekend. AC Carina up against Moggle. We've already mentioned Newmarket against Ipswich City. All right, so yes, looking at that ladder, that top 4 hunt is very tight. Ripley are in 5th place on 27, 1 point behind Logan Metro. North Pine 3 points ahead on 31 points. Again, another situation where Ipswich City are the team that's holding everyone back in the competition. They've only played 14 games, which is 3 less than others in the competition. So very hard to get a read on things. All right. Thank you very much.
What's happening with Pine Hills? Is Leo still on board, or I asked a question? He is. Okay. He didn't answer me. He didn't answer me. So, okay, he is. Okay.
So you're, of course, referring to the fact that he's been appointed as a SAP
Peninsula. Yeah.
coach at Peninsula Power. Yeah, so he deals with both clubs.
Okay.
Yeah, so able to do both positions because it's Leo.
Interesting.
Fair point.
Very interesting.
All right, let's move on to Village Law Capital League 2. Now, Scott Harding, have you joined us yet?
It's okay. I can cover the first half of that game.
Please do.
So Capital 2. So yeah, look, I was actually at the Westside Springfield game on the weekend. In all honesty, in the first half, Springfield looked relatively comfortable. Took in a late 1-0 lead in the first half, and in all honesty, the Westside goalkeeper, which happens to be happening all season against Springfield, just goalkeepers keeping their side in the game. Talking about Westside's goalkeeper. I left at halftime thinking, okay, they should sneak away with the 3 points here. Turns out they went down 2-1. So, yeah, look, I think they've had a disrupted season with injuries. Michael Keating leaving midway through the season. George Thomas has come in. He's an absolute class, just the way he goes about things, structures things. He's top quality. I actually want to get him on here in a few weeks, but I realize we might get him on here after a win. But yeah, look, I think they're in a process now of starting to build for next year. I know that they are in contact with a few for next year in terms of some strengthening in some areas. So yeah, watch your space. It's the facility and the setup that they've got out there. It's a forever growing club. They've got 900 odd members. Should crack 1,000 next year. It's just the only way is up for them.
And the Rainbow got a win on the weekend too.
Yeah, finally. Look, I think Oxley's been a surprising side for a lot of people this year. I think one of the other surprises of the league was how poor Narangba were doing, based on their last year. Obviously lost Jamie Hillier, but yeah, look, they'll be looking for a second half, like final few games of the season to finish strongly. I think the main thing is obviously I think North Brisbane, no matter how the structure looks, I think they're as good as promoted or whatever it is considered to be. It's just that battle for I guess those final spots.
Yeah, so Barden joint fourth on 20 points with Barden have 2 games in hand, so opportunity for them to cement their place.
Well, Springfield and Barden play each other this weekend, so
right, there you go.
Yes.
So that will be
a big 3
crucial
points.
match. Very good, but North Brisbane's to lose at this stage, as it has been most of the season, hasn't it?
Surprisingly.
Yes. All right. Hopefully, Scott Harding is going to come on board at some point during this. Let's move now to Village Law Capital League 3. And we've got my old boss, Ian Judd, who's the TD at Logan Village. G'day, Juddy.
How you going? You good?
Good. Mate, great little background you got going there as well.
Well, that's when you got a bit of a background in graphics, isn't it?
It certainly does. All right, Spencer, I'm going to throw this over to you, mate. Have a go at Ian.
I look. Every
Be kind.
single week.
Be kind.
No. I'm familiar. I'm mates with several of the players there. I know several of the players there. But look, I'm not sure if. Look, it's mind blowing. The squad that's there, they just seem to be. Logan Village itself just seemed to be, along with Bethania, seem to be fixated into this lower capital league division. So. In all honesty, the talk in pre-season leading up to this was Logan Village were going to absolutely walk this league. I don't think you can ever walk Cap 3. It's the hardest league to get out of.
Definitely is, yeah.
But I think with the squad that you've got over there, I know that there's been injuries. Stephen Travers was interrupted earlier in pre-season with an ankle injury, I'm pretty sure.
It was actually a foot injury you had, and it was actually
ankle foot.
Actually had it for over a year with pretty much like a broken bone in his foot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I just in like Matt Mears, Travis Walters. It's a squad that should be competing. Obviously, a slow start. There was a bit of a pickup there, but I just want to know what's the to go. I honestly expect them to be promoted.
Yeah, look, I think there were high expectations for sure. I think probably to start with, there probably was a couple of players that came in, which I guess we probably always get this fascination with Cap 3, thinking people probably can come in and think it's easy, and as you know, it's not. It's not. Yeah, there's some good quality, some good players knocking around. I think a lot of the defeats that we have had have been narrow, literally by a single goal. Look, I guess it's always a bit of a building process. That's probably the problem we've had each year. Really sort of change a coach each year. And you're right. I mean, on paper, we should be blitzing it. But I think probably just, again, some existing players still at the club, some new players coming in, and probably it just took a little bit of time to gel. Were still a couple of players that sort of changed and moved on. I mean, we had Richie Stockman, but he moved on. We had Leanne, who was previously, obviously at Logan Village, and quality player, but sort of, again, a sort of change. He's actually gone across to Bethania. So there's been a couple of changes in personnel there, but I mean, probably the players we had brought in, which there were probably a couple of players we got from Spirit, actually, ironically.
Stefan's come in there as well. So.
Yeah. Got Tyler Baker's come in as well, absolutely phenomenal at the back. The result of the weekend, we had a couple out against Jimboomba, and they're obviously the arch nemesis that we seem to always manage to lose against. It was probably a question. Unfortunately, we had both our reserves and our first team keeper actually drop out just before. So we had 2 filling keepers for both games. So that didn't help. That didn't help with the result. But that aside, we should be higher up than we are, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just wanted to. Every week I've said I don't know what's wrong with what's going on, because I keep expecting something to happen that week and it doesn't. So, but speaking on Jimboomba, I think they've just gradually crept up. I think they've strengthened as the season's gone on. And I think I've said a few weeks ago that they are, I think when the Tarragindi coach, I forgot his name, well-known fella, but
Kevin Meacock?
Yeah, Kevin Meacock. So he was on here a few, and he was very surprised when I said to him that Jimboomba could give them a game, and that would be my game of the weekend. This weekend, Tarragindi versus Jimboomba, absolutely. So, but yeah, I think Cap 3, it's always been one of those leagues that's very difficult to get out of. Teams are surprising teams as well, like Teviot are getting results. Park Ridge, everyone expected them to be a walk in the park, but they're under Bunton, they seem to be pushing and then basically being a very competitive side as well. So it's always been an intriguing league. It's when new team, I think, if any, depending how structures go, promotion, relegation, all that sort of stuff, I think if any year was the easiest year to get out of Cap 3, this year was probably the easy. It was because you're going to have, I think, teams like Brazza and Oldbridge, which have money to spend, that I think are going to be approaching Football Queensland about coming into these divisions. I know Brazza's been turned down the last 2 years, so and that's because they don't have a set facility to operate out of. I don't know why. That's not because those teams share Moreton Bay and all that sort of stuff. So this year was definitely the easiest year to get out of Cup 3, I think, because there's been teams like Caboolture, St. George, Brisbane Athletic come through down the years where money's just been splashed. And I think, out of all the years, and I said at the start of the year, if there's going to be any teams that get promoted, they have to do it this year. Yeah. Because and that'll be the challenge moving forward for teams like Bethania and Logan Village next year that have been kind of situated. I know Ramak's got a few plans over there based on speaking to Adrian. But it'll be very interesting. I think next year moving forward, whatever the division's called, however it's structured at that point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, probably fortunately, our reserves have done extremely well this year, which is a first.
Nick Benson's got them flying. So
he has. He's I mean, for first year coach, he's doing extremely well. Sort of plunged in the deep end there. Got full respect for him. And I mean, look, obviously we probably got a few of those boys in reserves were first team previously. There's a handful of those. But and look, I mean, we're now joint top. Just second on goal difference now. So I mean, and we got Bethania last game, final game of the season.
They're a very good side. It's basically their former first team sides.
Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, no, so it'll be interesting. But I mean, look, I think the first team again. Look, if we can obviously get obviously a couple of injuries and hopefully have our keepers back this week, will be a huge benefit. So yeah, away to Pine Rivers this week, so it will be a challenge. It's a big road trip, so it's always a tough one. But yeah, I mean, it has been frustrating. You probably got, I mean, I think 2 games we conceded a late equaliser to Tarragindi at home. We only lost by a single goal to them, and so you're probably on the par. We should be up there. Should be up there.
Yeah. Oh, I'd just love to see some of these Logan Ipswich sides basically moving up the leagues. It just seems to be very Brisbane dominated in the higher leagues. So it'd just be good to see some of these leagues kind of spread out a bit more. Yeah,
definitely.
So what is your take on the other teams in the competition this year, Juddy? I mean, it's going to be heartening to see Teydown, who've struggled for so many years. They're now on 7 points. They've won 2 games this season, which I think is 2 more than they've won in the prior 2 years.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I guess it's probably another, again, a fairly new club. I know I actually did my senior C licence with Gabe early last year before COVID hit. So look, he's obviously working hard. He's trying everything he can to sort of bring them forward. Again, I think it's just, I mean, probably the benefit we have out this way is we're in a booming area. Obviously, we're on the doorstep with Jimboomba. They've got lots of development going on around there. So there's lots of people coming to the area. So there's going to be players coming in, some especially Jimboomba. It's a very young demographic in that area. We picked up players from there. We picked up a lot of youngsters from there. So those areas are going to contribute to these clubs, including ours. So I think just watch this space and sort of time to come.
Who's the natural, the derby enemy of Logan Village? Who's the team that you love to play?
Well, they're about 10 minutes around the corner and wear black and white stripes. So that's Jimboomba, definitely.
It is Jimboomba.
That's odd because Bethania CU is the rival. So
really?
Yeah, no, Bethania. I know that there's the NCIS Composites Cup that is that's played for every year. But yeah, no, I think when Josh Stick was between clubs, but I know that there's been when I was at Bethania, it was playing Village this weekend. That was the big game. But
it's always they're probably obviously. I guess I've been at the club for a fair old while now, probably too long I care to remember. But yeah, I guess it's always been Jimboomba, I think, because I think it's always been. I don't know. It's just something about it. It's just what it is.
All right, so just recapping the fixtures this weekend. Pine Rivers are hosting Logan Village, Tarragindi up against Jimboomba, Ridge Hills hosting Park Ridge, D-Bay have Brighton, and Bethania up against Teydown. So some big derbies this weekend, isn't there? Should be a great weekend.
That Tarragindi Jimboomba game is going to be an absolute cracker. I hope that they get the cameras out there. I don't know what Football Queensland is doing. I know that they're live streaming some games, but I hope that they get the cameras out for that game.
All right. Now, look, we were going to get Scott Harding on the show tonight, who is of course, the president at Springfield United. So, Juddy, I'm going to throw these questions your way, and if anyone else has anything to add, please feel free to jump in. We were going to get Rafe Griffin on the show tonight to discuss what's happening with Football Brisbane, given that they're now been shut down basically by Football Queensland, been split into 2 zones, and we'll discuss those 2 zones more in the FQ show, which is coming up next. So Football Brisbane, they've lost a few staff, but there are still some people there, including Rafe. Juddy, are you getting any of this correspondence about what Football Brisbane are doing now?
Oh, look, I think there was obviously still the talk of, we sort of got a recent email regarding, I guess, competition fees, or absolutely zero competition fees that they were going to propose and put forward. I know there's a big question mark still around player registrations. I think that's probably the big one. They wanted to get across to people that FQ haven't got player registration fees published as yet. Look, it's a tough one. I mean, probably, I guess, sort of from our perspective, probably affiliation is really a big thing. Being still part of that whole pathway, whether it's through Football Queensland, the prospects of hopefully one day potentially being promoted all the way through to MPO, etc., is obviously attractive, and that's probably the way every league works in the world. So I think for our point of view, that's probably where we would prefer to stay, in that affiliated area. But yeah, look, it'd be interesting to see what they come up with, and how that structure, whatever they can bring out, how that's going to look. That'll be interesting. Yeah.
So Football Brisbane are asking clubs they're looking at doing something similar to what the SEQ League or the Church League are doing. So they're not affiliated with Football Australia and just being competition administrators. Yeah?
Yeah.
Was there any talk of them merging with SEQ League at all?
No.
Nothing that you saw there?
No. I don't think something we'll see happen. I think it'd just be a case of, there's probably a few clubs that are a little bit more loyal to probably the calls. It's an interesting one. I mean, it's I think probably, if anything, it's probably clubs have sort of been watching on, going, what is going on, sort of thing. But obviously, I think it's all part of the great reform. Obviously, we've sort of been part of the FQ discussions as well around sort of licensing and that kind of thing. And it really is, it's not really just driven from FQ's point of view. It is an FFA thing, or FA thing as it is now. But things like under 23s, that's international. That's stemmed from FIFA, that whole structure, and that's now sort of filtered through to this country.
So clubs are expected to have the senior side and an under 23s team.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Spencer, do you have something that you want to throw in there before I throw it open to the other guys?
I just think I think I can see it's becoming something similar to the former SEQ League before Football Queensland took over, where they had the three divisions. I think it was in the senior men's. It was more like I'm not sure how they'll integrate the juniors, but just I think you probably see more community-based clubs like you, and the ones that, like Ian said, that don't want to necessarily run through, can't necessarily or won't necessarily meet those criterias involved in the promotion relegation factors. I think teams like I could be completely wrong, but teams like Deception Bay and all that sort of stuff, I think you'll find they'll kind of steer clear and want to go down that sort of path. But I can see something similar like that old Friday night SEQ League, but obviously spanned over a weekend, or integrating juniors way. I think they'll integrate something like that. I can't see them remaining sustainable if they're trying to go toe-to-toe with a Football Queensland-like league.
All right. So, Jack, obviously, your club president is the president of the Metro North Zone, so you can obviously UQFC are going to be sticking with Football Queensland. George, are you across any of this? Have you got any indication as to where Western Spirit might be going?
I honestly could not tell you. I was asked to go to the club to coach, and that's what I do. What they do behind the doors.
Yeah.
I'm just there to make sure that, let's just assume that we are going to have a Brisbane Premier League next year. I need to make sure that team stays out of relegation.
Yeah.
And that's my job. So as I've heard the talk, seen the email, I've seen the emails, the Facebook posts, seen all that. Really, I try not to involve myself in bickering. Whatever happens, happens.
I should be more like you.
Pretty easy going, unless I'm your coach.
So, Jack, I'll just bring you in there. So, obviously, UQ are going to be sticking with the FQ model.
Look, at the moment, that's discussions that happen above my head, as George said. No, we're coaches here to coach. Just a correction. Andrew Bird is the current UQ president. So I believe Marty is the one, Martin Buttigieg, if I'm correct. Yes. Is the FQ representative. Yeah, look, that's discussions which I know are happening at the club, but that's all, well above me. From a personal note, like to Ian's point, obviously with the first team squad, having the prospect of being able to play all the way up into that NPL zone. The under 23s are a huge plus for us. Obviously, most our Resi squad, who are top of the table currently, are basically under 23, most if not all of them. So that's obviously hugely attractive for us. But yeah, look, I guess we'll see where the club decides to go with it.
So what's Marty's position at UQFC?
So he's the female football coordinator, I believe,
Right.
Down with the junior side of the club.
I see. All right. Now, Josh, what about a club like Newmarket? Where do you guys sit?
For us, like I know Football Brisbane and our president have always had a pretty good relationship. For me, coaching, especially my first year and this year, all we want to do is be in a structure that we can continue to be challenged and improve. I suppose what the boys want to do is just if we hold on and we win this year, or we keep through and we win this year, then they just want to be recognised, rewarded, and play in the next comp that they deserve to be in. And I do think the pathway makes a lot of sense in senior football to be connected. I mean, it's always been a little bit weird as to why teams like Albany Creek have just sat in BPL doing what they've done. I think this way it should at some point make all competitions stronger. I don't know how the 23s will sort of work as across the board, but just time will tell. At least though now it's connected from top to bottom, and sort of the best teams will be where they're meant to be, and the teams that need a couple of years to regroup will end up where they need to be. And
it'll take a while to balance it out. Like the amount of times that they've done restructures, whether it mean getting rid of Cap 4 or whatever. I think it'll take a while again to balance out. I wouldn't like to see them bring in an under 23 structure for a set amount of leagues. Like I think once they reach a particular point and they are striving for that QPL, NPL type division, then I think that's when the under 23 should be integrated. But I don't think it would be, again, using the word sustainable across every side from the, say, for example, Cap 3 right through to Cap 1, BPL possibly, but I don't think it would be sustainable for every single club across those leagues.
Yeah, looking at the structure they've put forward for, for example, FQPL 6 is probably which you're looking at Cap 3 sides.
That's disgusting. That just doesn't sound right.
I know. But so, although they label it as under 23s, they've got unlimited number of overage players within that. So all intents and purposes, it's a reserves division.
Yeah.
But as you move up, as you move up, FQPL 5, I think I think it's still unlimited, but then 4 it sort of drops down to 7 overage players, then FQPL 3 I think down to 3 or 5 or something like that. So there is that change as you progress, which I think is probably fair.
I think the one thing from being in a club like Newmarket and having the year we've had, and I've been at Newmarket for a few years, either just whether my old man was coaching or I might have played a few years back. It'd be interesting to see how strict they get with requirements outside of playing football, in regards to what you need in your club to be able to be accepted into whatever league you may have just won. For our point of view, my logic is simple, and we come and everyone talks about Newmarket's field and so on, but there's 11 people on the pitch. If they can play on it for majority of the season and do the job, how does that hinder us to sort of not go higher? But Football Queensland may have all that sort of covered. I hope it doesn't get to a point where it's too much for some clubs that they can't go up because of facilities or something in a facility. Obviously, it's got to be a line where they can't just be a park and a field, but hopefully it's not too full on where we're expected to have clubs like Power, with those type of facilities, or Lions is the only thing that can hinder you from going into the NPL or whatever it may be at that time.
So what you're saying is KPR should be an NPL club if they've got this team?
No, but I think
he did say he doesn't mean a punk.
It goes beyond just cosmetics or facilities and stuff like that. At some level, it's got to sort of be a little bit of a balancing act in regards to what a club can actually have in their area and where they can play. It's sort of got to at some point balance.
Well, I've heard that they're going to have, say, media requirements as well. So they're going to have, there needs to be like a pre-game and post-game interview for every side or whatever. Like, I could be completely wrong, but I did hear that there are media requirements for all these leagues as well. So if you are joining, then you need to have someone doing interviews before and after. I'm putting my hand up for anyone that wants to, you know. But no, I'm just saying, like, if anyone, like, if they're wanting that sort of structure, then it's not exactly a cheap process to run either, on top of everything else.
No, and like I think, yeah, it just comes down to, you know, it's not just the 11 players on the pitch, but it's the whole people at the club. I mean, people is what makes the facilities, right? I mean, that's, you know, I remember as a kid I was at Pine Rivers, and they weren't exactly the most immaculate clubhouse, but they were in 4X League, and we used to just love going down and just watching who were possibly at the time the best players playing. After you played Saturday morning, you went back Saturday afternoon and played. It didn't matter whether their clubhouse could fit a gazillion people or 20. It was the football that you were there to watch. So I just hope that doesn't sort of get lost at some certain level.
Yeah, I think that's where it comes back to the teams that want to be competitive versus the community clubs that just entering a divisional team for the sake of having a competitive divisional team. I think there needs to be some hard lines drawn, basically, for a lot of clubs at the end of this season, or sooner rather than later. Where do we want to be? Where do we see ourselves? What do we want to do? Whether or not they drop down to, I think it's Metro League for a few years, or whether, and while they do build, whether they go join Football Brisbane, or whatever they're called at that particular point in time. I think there needs to be a lot of decisions made at a lot of clubs about where they see themselves. But I do agree with you in regards to facilities, like, where's the line drawn there? Absolutely. That's because it's going to happen. It's sooner or later, it's going to happen. Not everyone's going to have facilities like Goodbould that are on the way up. Not everyone's going to have facilities like Lions. That's the reality of it. And not every club's going to get the funding that some of these clubs have either. So
yeah,
there needs to be a reality to it. Yeah.
I love that we're going to a system that's trying to be better. I love that everyone's trying to be better. All we can do is sort of see what happens as it unravels, as it unfolds.
Yeah, look, I think in the end of the day, it's got to be sustainable. That's the biggest thing. For clubs, it's got to be sustainable.
All right. We might leave it there, guys. Good chat. It's taken 5 weeks, and we've covered a lot of ground in that time. So thank you all for your participation this evening. Spencer, great to have you on board again.
No worries. Got my shirt, second time I got to wear it.
Yes, well done, well done. All right, so this has been the FQ Metro edition of the Village Law SEQFC preview show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.